This reading for today, September 18th. How shall you define God? Think of him or her as the highest potential you can imagine for yourself. God is all that and much more. As the Indian scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, states, he is in all things their supreme manifestation, perfect power, wisdom, love, joy, peace, fulfillment, satisfaction, beauty, and contentment. It's really wonderful how Swamiji explains this to us, because just today someone asked a question, not of me, but I was sort of tasked with the responsibility of giving an answer, is how can I understand God? How can I believe in God? How can I define God? And we can say all kinds of things that, abstract definitions and so on. And yet, this answer that Swamiji gave, it's a sweet story, as you may know. He was approached when giving classes in Australia by a man afterwards who said, you keep using the word God, but I myself am an atheist, so how can you speak of God in a way that's meaningful to me? And Swamiji gave this answer. Why not? He paused a moment and then he said, why don't you think of God as the highest potential you can imagine for yourself? And the man was taken aback, and then he said, well, I can live with that. And already that gives us a teaching in itself that often when people have sort of a hostility towards God or the word God or so on, it's just because they've been hurt by some other definition of God, or they haven't found one that they could relate to. Swamiji said he wasn't interested in God growing up, not because he was hurt, but because the God that was talked about in the churches he went to was so boring. He said it didn't attract him at all. I have to confess I had rather a similar experience. Nothing about God interested me, and nothing that was talked about even seemed, some of it didn't even seem logical or even consistent. But that's another story, and an uninteresting story. And so even though we can, even on the spiritual path, yes, if we're devotees, that comes from the word devotion. We have devotion to God, we love God, we try to pray, we seek God as yogis. Still, what does it mean to us? We can say, I want samadhi, because that is the ultimate attainment as described by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras book. So as yogis, we go to the yoga book, we flip to the last page, it says samadhi, we say, okay, that's what I want, because it's at the top, it's stated as the goal. But what does it mean? Yes, in English it means oneness, but still, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a Jeevan Mukta? Freed from the need to reincarnate compulsively through the ego. Jeevan Muktas still reincarnate because they have past karma to work out, but they no longer generate new karma. And whatever actions they do that would generate good karma, that benefit goes to their disciples. So Jeevan Mukta, okay, fine, I'd like to be that, because that's what I've heard is the title of somebody who graduates. I'd like enlightenment. I'd like liberation, freedom. Again, what does it really mean? What does it feel like? Well, Swamiji gives us these words, and it's perfect power, perfect wisdom, perfect love, joy, peace, fulfillment, satisfaction, beauty, and contentment. Why are these helpful? Because these are the things that everybody is seeking anyway in the world. How many people are fixated on power? I still don't understand why as much. I think it's so that they can just have control, and so they can have control so they can either feel inflated and sort of higher than others, and therefore somehow that will fill the emptiness in their hearts. I don't know, that's just a guess. wisdom, that we all seek. As Master writes in Autobiography of a Yogi, it is not enough to have man's basic needs met. Once those, or he doesn't seek just to fulfill those, wisdom too is a native hunger, meaning an inborn hunger. We seek to understand. We seek to learn more. We can't help it. We want to know. This represents the sort of guiding light throughout all our evolution. First, we just use the body. I'm not talking about in our childhood, but in our earlier incarnations. We just focus in terms of the body. More good food, less bad food. More health, less sickness. And more pleasure, less pain. Very basic. Then we discover that the people with money seem to be getting more of everything good. So we imagine. And so it seems. So we start to say, well, how can I get that money? I can't just rob people of the money, just because then someone's going to come and rob me, or I end up in jail, or I just don't have any peace, because knock, knock, knock. Is it the police? Oh no, it's just my fellow robbers maybe coming to get me. So then we learn that if we can use our brain, then we can maybe pull off some scheme and get a whole lot of money and so on. And so we evolve into that, using our brain to get what we want, not just our body. And there's a satisfaction in that too. I knew a person who every time he earned some money, he was so satisfied, just like, ha ha, I made a fast buck. And like his score went up in some ranking somewhere for the day. And then anytime so once in a while, if he saw that someone else had come up with a great idea, like for an iPod or some new invention, he would say, oh, doesn't it just make you mad? Somebody else beat you to the punch and is now making lots of money. I was so shocked, because at the time I was neither interested in money or iPods, but I didn't see why. I got an iPod finally, I still use it, but I didn't see why he would feel cheated in a race he didn't even know he was running. It was just abstract. No one should be ahead of me. So anyway, this is the mind seeking satisfaction even in mental terms, or at least in economic money terms. Then we start to see that just hoarding for ourselves is not enough. And that it just, if nothing else, we just get lonely. And that if someone comes up to us wanting to be a friend and we're wealthy, we don't know, do they actually care about us as a person, or do they just want some money? And when are they going to ask, you have enough money, you can afford to give me some? I guess that's not ask, that's demand. But still, that it becomes lonely. Plus we see that even with all this money, what's the point? I have enough to live on, but so many people suffer, and that bothers me. I start to feel guilty. Why should I have so much? So I share of that strength with others, and that leads us to the next stage of development, helping others. And we get a satisfaction in that. So anyway, wisdom, as I said, drives us, seeking deeper understanding. It's just inborn. And then another thing we seek in the world is love, human love. And we are, I don't know, Swamiji said people who are happiest are those who are seeking it. Because once people have found it, then they find it doesn't quite satisfy them in the way they'd hoped. Joy, which is a higher expression of pleasure. Peace, which is something so often sought in the world. I just need a break, I just need rest, I just need, to feel some kind of calmness after all this excitement. Fulfillment and satisfaction, that sense of, the desire being relieved. The desire, what gets satisfied? A desire. And then comes that peace, that removal of a condition on our happiness, that we had to have this in order to feel peace, then we got it. Now I can feel peace again. Swamiji said it's like pinching a portion of your skin. That's the desire, and when you finally have that desire fulfilled, you let go of that pinch, and then it feels so much better. But it was we who pinched ourselves in the first place. Beauty, again, much more realized than on this earth. It's realized in the astral world. In fact, a desire for beautiful music, scenery, beautiful even relationships, those desires are better satisfied, more easily satisfied, truly on the astral plane, in the astral world, than on the earth plane. And Swamiji said when people create things of beauty in this world, it's probably because they've done so in the astral world, and they're trying to recreate reflections or imitations of that here on earth. keeps something he would say often to us all at Ananda, that we'd probably created communities in the astral world before and we're now doing it here on earth, and also trying to make things beautiful. Sometimes people on the spiritual path sort of shun beauty, as if to say, oh no, that's just materialistic, or that's just, of the ego, and why should I seek any kind of pleasure in that? But beauty uplifts the mind. And you can sort of think of beauty as an extension of cleanliness, which is one of the niyamas. Why? Because again, that uplifts us. It also attracts higher beings. Higher, even astral beings, are attracted to beauty here on earth. And so it's definitely also, I can say this very confidently because both Swamiji and Master enjoyed having beautiful surroundings. It wasn't to give them pleasure in a worldly way, but it was to not only uplift them, but uplift the minds of those who came. So it's a very important thing on the spiritual path. We should not be so renouncing that we overdo it. And finally, contentment, which is again one of the niyamas, and something that, as Swamiji said, is even attractive on a worldly level, which may not seem like it would be because of desire, ambition, and so on. But contentment, he said, is something everyone craves. Now, why shall we define God at all? So we can understand what we're seeking. And you see how, as I said, all these worldly desires are fulfilled best in God, Swamiji says. That in God you will find the perfect power that we won't find on earth, the perfect love that we will never find on earth, and so on. And so we have these desires, pardon me as I surreptitiously grab this other book. We have these desires anyway, and we can try to fulfill them, and we find that we don't fulfill them. If we look at them just in themselves, if we see these things as reflections of God, then it's fine. Then we're not seeking perfection in the manifestation on earth, but we're seeing perfection, or seeing this as a symbol or a gateway to perfection. What we have to remember is, no matter what, we will be meeting God one day, one way or another. And let us do so in success, but that end is definitely coming. And so I wanted to read to you something that Yoganandaji wrote. I should tell you, it has a happy ending, and yet Master's words are strong. And so let's listen to these now. You can close your eyes if you like or not, but this is from the book Karma and Reincarnation, the Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, and it is entitled The Last Day. And this is for you all too, especially. You who are reading, and I who am writing, and all the 2 billion people throbbing with life today, this was written in 1934, will exist 100 years hence only as thoughts. Great and small must be buried beneath the grass or thrown into the flames of cremation. We who are so sure of our breakfasts, lunches, and dinners will be unable to swallow or to speak. Our lips will be sealed forever. We who love to listen to flattery, to the voice of the brook, to the sweet melody of music, and to the familiar words of our loved ones, must one day never again hear any sound from this sad earth. The roses and blooms that you love someday will send the messenger of sweet fragrance to knock at the door of your perfume-loving sense, but the door of that sense will be open no more. You will never again be lured by nature's earthly perfume. The day will arrive when all beautiful things will stand mutely at the wisdom gate of your lotus gaze, and will try to get into the chamber of your appreciation, but you will behold imperfect matter no more. The chamber of wisdom will be left untenanted. The brain that controlled your 27 trillion cells and your bodily factory will direct them no more. The soft touches of the breeze and the warmth of the sunshine will soothe you no more, for your body will remain inert and lifeless. The day will come when you cannot see, when you cannot move your hands or feet, and when you will have neither good nor bad thoughts, success nor failure, wisdom nor ignorance. Since this must come to pass, why are you building the conviction of permanent comfort around this melting butter doll of a body? The heat of death will melt these frozen bodily atoms. Did you ever think that you have only this one life, and that then you will join the shadows of millions of souls who have also thought, lived, laughed, and died with unfulfilled hopes? Reincarnation is undoubtedly true, but do you realize that you will never have the same body, the same mind, friends in the same forms, or the same way to live and die as you will experience in this life? Remember, you have to play one role for a few years of sorrow and laughter on the screen of time. Then this particular film of life will be shelved forever, never to be played again, though revamped and played on the screen of some other incarnation. In each and every soul's cheap garment of flesh must be, if each and every soul's cheap garment of flesh must be discarded, that the soul may put on the shining robes of immortality, why should you cry? If both immortality-declaring saints and trembling at death small men must die, then why fear death? It is a universal experience through which all must pass. Think what a mystery life is. It has its origin in the unknown, and into the unknown it merges. Think what a mystery death is. It swallows up the hard-working man and the idle man alike, and makes them change back into ether and the elements. Think how everybody fears death, and yet death comes only to give peace and relief. When life's burden grows too heavy with grief, ill health, or apparently incurable troubles. Why spend all the treasure of your wisdom trying to make this uncertain, perishable body comfortable? Wake up. Try to reap the harvest of imperishable immortality and lasting, ever new bliss on the perishable soil of the body. You will never find lasting comfort from a slowly dissolving body. You can never squeeze the honey of divine happiness from the rock of sense pleasures. Lasting comfort flows ceaselessly into the pail of your life when you squeeze the honeycomb of meditation and peace with eager, powerful hands of will and with ever deeper concentration. Why intoxicate yourself with material desires during your death-like sleep of ignorance? Your present material activity is like walking in a dream of delusion during the sleep of ignorance. Why are you so sure of yourself, and why do you devote your entire time to building a material fortune that you must leave behind you in an instant at the call of death? As you know, material riches are too heavy to be carried in your astral car when you travel to the great beyond. Why not prepare now for the last day on earth, when you will have to leave behind you everything to which you are so attached? I do not mean that you should be a cynic and not enjoy the things of this life. All I say is, do not be so attached to anything that you will feel mental agony when you forcibly lose it or are separated from it. If you do not grieve for earthly things when your bodily garment is cast off, you will have better things hereafter. You will again receive from the hands of your Father, God, all the things that you ever cherished and lost. He takes things from you so that you will not remain earthbound and forgetful of your true immortal state. Acquire the power of meditation and the treasures of intuitional perceptions and ever new peace and joy, which will be of greater use to you on your last journey. Forget the delusions of today. Get ready for death by making your acquaintance with God every day. At the end of the trail, through the portals of that last day, you will be allowed entry into the kingdom of your Father and remain there forever. Thank you again for joining us, and God bless you.